Hey guys, welcome to another league race on the channel. Today we are racing around the Red Bull Ring in Austria for round 5 of season 6 in LSA. As you can see on screen are the standings. We have managed to close the gap to Cheddar a bit. We now trail by 44 points. Last week we had a very good race in Canada. We took the win and the fastest lap, and we managed to close the gap by 19 points to Cheddar. Now, jumping straight into quali, this is going to be our first run. Obviously, Austria being such a short track, there is time to do 3 runs. You can even do more than that if you feel enough. So, yeah, this is going to be first run, going through turn 1. The first run is just to get a banker lap on the board. It's not going to be the fastest time. We just got to be sure to not invalidate and not take too many risks, because you can see it's also a bit cloudy. So the grip is not going to be as high as it would be in a sunny session. So coming towards the end of the lap, it's been a fairly clean lap, nothing spectacular, but we've just not taken too many risks. Come across the final corner, we go a bit wide, so we know there's some time in there, and we set a 104.3, just 2/100ths off pole at the moment. Coming into the start of our second run, we decided to do 2 out laps, so you can see the delta down by quite a lot. So we did 2 out laps so that we could see what happens if we use up more fuel. We obviously in the second out lap we didn't really push the car, so the tires aren't really warm, but we did manage to use a bit more fuel than you would if you only did 1 out lap. So coming at the end of the first sector, we're about a 10th up. Coming through turn 3, it's just under a 10th at the moment, so we just need to keep improving bit by bit. Brands has jumped us so far, and I think at the moment Cheddar is in P1, so we've dropped down to P4. On this exit we go a bit wide, which definitely cost us some time. And now coming through this left-hander, go all the way out to the right, and then start off sector 3. Basically just 2 corners left now, and we are 2.5 tenths up, so this has been a really solid lap. But we missed that apex slightly, and coming through here we do that fairly okay, and it's going to be a 104.0, just 16,000ths off Cheddar. And now this is the final run. Again, we did 2 out laps to use up as much fuel as we possibly can, and now we're going to push it. We're going to go full send, because we know if we qualify 2nd, 3rd or 4th, it doesn't really matter too much. But if we can get pole, that's just going to be really good for our confidence. So we did that turn 1 really nicely, got a great exit, and now we are about a 10th up in the first sector. And we know the gap to Cheddar was only 16,000, so if we can improve, we are going to get pole unless they improve as well. So there's no time to waste. We've just got to put in the best lap we can. You can see we stay on track a lot better there, and we get a better exit than the previous lap. And now 1.5 tenths up, coming through this left-hander, finishing sector 2, and we stay a bit tighter on this left hand. You can see the delta go up again, so we did that a bit better than in our previous run. Now 1.5 tenths up. We know there is some time in this final 2 corners, and now going through this final corner, we absolutely nail it on the exit. And this is going to be another 2/10 improvement, and it's a 103.7, which is good enough for pole. I don't think anyone behind us started any laps. We were the last car over the line. So yeah, that was a great lap. Hooked up most of the corners, and I think it was pretty close to my PB as well. So coming into the race, my strategy thinking here was to start on the mediums. Now sometimes I like to choose the wrong tire, like I would choose the hards here so that everyone thinks I'm going to start on the hards, and then I swap at the last minute. But sometimes I just stay on the tire that I chose, obviously just to keep my opponents guessing. But the idea here was to start on the mediums, because I want to put a bit earlier and see if I can break the DRS with the undercut, because DRS is so strong. Even if you have like a half a second pace advantage to the car behind, they can stay in your DRS. So if I put a bit earlier, I can maybe break that DRS with the undercut. So that is what we're going to try. We are on the mediums. Cheddar behind is on the hards, as we have 5 lights. Now the lights go out And away we go. Now we get a good start. Cheddar on the hards obviously is going to struggle a bit more. Now he and Midas are going to go side by side through turn 1. And they don't actually touch, but it's just how you compromise, how you are compromised if you go side by side through turn 1. You can see we've already got a 7/10 gap. I was contemplating on trying to break the DRS immediately, but yeah, I would have to really dump my whole battery, and the problem is the guys behind will just use DRS to catch back up to me even if I did break it. So at this point in time I just figured, you know what, let's save the battery, let's just not overwork these tires for now. And even if we are still in this DRS train, we're still in a prime position for the rest of this race. Skipping on to the second lap, you can see now Midas very close behind us. He's got DRS, but he's not going to go for the move here because he knows there's no real point in fighting at this stage. It's lap 2 out of 36. If we fight now, we just cost each other time. And so he stays behind. Convoy has gone up into P3 with his medium tires. So at this stage I was going to let Midas go, but he puts his nose up the inside, but then he doesn't actually commit to the move. So I use a bit of battery to stay ahead, but this wasn't ideal because that did cost us a few tenths to the guys behind. And at this stage you can see on the minimap, the cars are so close, we don't really want to be costing each other time, because the more time we cost each other, the more cars we allow to stay in this DRS train. If we really push and the pace is good, then we can drop as many cars as possible, and the more cars you drop, obviously the easier the race becomes at the later stage of the race. So coming across the line, starting lap 3, you can see the guys behind all just waiting because no one wants to make a move before turn 1. And now Midas is going to go for the overtake, I think. Yeah, you can see he's burning his battery. He goes for the overtake. Convoy decides to stay behind. He also knows there's no point in going side by side. We leave some room on the inside there. You can, even though no one was alongside of me, I could have just turned into the apex, but that's something that is really beneficial if you learn to do this in your races, is just always leave a bit of extra room just in case, because if someone missed their braking zone, or let's say Convoy and Cheddar were going side by side in there and one of them went up my inside, I was going to get spun. And even though it wouldn't have been my fault, my race would have still been over. So yeah, it's always a good idea, especially a corner like that where it's very easy to bunch up. It's always a good idea just to leave some extra room if you think there's a chance that someone might go up your inside. So yeah, coming to the end of lap 3, you see Brands in P5. He's picked up a track limit penalty already, which is not going to be ideal for him. And now we are going to re-overtake Midas on the straight. I just felt like we had a bit more pace, but Convoy comes up our inside and he's using a lot of battery. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to let him go. Again, it doesn't really matter if I'm P1, 2 or 3, but Convoy and Midas decide to go side by side, and I figure, you know what, these guys are going to start holding each other up. I'm going to go for this so that I can be in the lead. So I use some overtake. Midas didn't have DRS there, so yeah, we use some overtake and the DRS to get back into the lead. And now we're going to keep pushing because we know we've got very good pace in this race so far. It seems like these top 4 or 5 guys are all very similar in terms of pace. So yeah, not looking to fight too much, but we are just trying to stretch the field as much as we can. Now coming to the end of lap 6, you can see we are still in the lead. We've been leading the race now for the last couple of laps. Our pace has been really good, and Midas has just decided to stay behind us and not overtake us. But now on lap 7, you can see he is a lot closer than he has been for the last couple of laps, and he is going to go for the move not into turn 3. He still stays behind, but we go a bit wide, which is not ideal, and that opens the door behind for Midas. You can see he's really close, and he's going to go for this move. I'm just going to let him through. I'm not going to fight this. I'm not going to use any battery, and you can see we even brake a bit earlier. Get a switchback, but this was just mainly to make sure that I didn't get passed by Cheddar. So I just made sure to put my car in a place where Cheddar can't overtake me. And now we are back in P2, but we are still in a great position. As I said, at this stage it doesn't really matter too much whether you are P1, 2 or 3. But you can see Cheddar's hards, they've really started coming into their own. So I think they might even be the faster tire by now. compared to these mediums. So ideally, we want to get past Midas here because we want to be the lead medium car, because once Cheddar gets past us, he's going to be able to drag us along with his faster hards. And if we are the lead medium car, that's going to be the best for us in terms of strategy. So we're going to go for the overtake up into turn 3. And we have the move completed. And now if you look in the mirrors, Midas has a big spin and he takes Cheddar and Convoy with him. And I was very confused at this stage. I thought maybe there was contact or maybe someone hit someone. But yeah, Midas just lost the traction, unfortunately for him and unfortunately for Cheddar and Convoy. But this has allowed us now to create a bit of a gap to Trey and Brands behind. So you can see I'm really pushing because I spotted that gap. And if I can break the DRS to Trey and Brands, then I can maybe start running away with this race. And that's exactly what we've done. You can see, coming to the end of lap 8, the gap to Trey is now 1.3 seconds as we have a big moment over that curb. But the gap now is 1.3 seconds, 1.2 seconds, and now we've just got to make sure this gap stays there, and we've done exactly that. At the end of lap 15, the gap behind is over 7 seconds, and we've just been managing this race every lap, just doing what we need to do. Coming to our pit stop now, going to the hards. With a gap behind, we could have probably stayed out a bit longer, just in case there was a safety car or something like that, but I was looking at the minimap and the gaps between the cars were quite big, so I wasn't really expecting a lot of battling and a lot of crashes. So unless someone just binned it by themselves, I was pretty sure that we weren't going to get a safety car, and I don't want to risk driving on old mediums and making a mistake just to have a few lap better hards. These hards are a great race tire, and whether you have 3 lap fresher hards around here, it doesn't really translate into that much race pace. So I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to box at the normal pit lap and just make sure that I see this race out. I was thinking about pitting later on in the race again because the gap was big enough to go for the fastest lap, but yeah, I just didn't want to risk it. So yeah, coming through this corner, we're going to skip to the very end of the race because absolutely nothing happened. We were just on our own for the remainder of this race, and coming through the final 2 corners now, we win by a margin of 17 seconds after penalties. You can see we come across the finish line here, and that is going to be the win. Our second pole of the season, our second win of the season, and this is some great momentum that we've picked up now. And yeah, that inconsistency we spoke of in the first few races, it's something of the past, hopefully, because yeah, the last 2 races have really been calculated, have really been consistent. And we've just done a really good job at managing the race, making the right calls, and seeing it out. So yeah, hopefully we can carry this on for the rest of the season. Unlucky for us, Cheddar does finish in P2. So, and I think he actually got the fastest lap as well. So we only gained 4 points to him this week, which is obviously not a lot, and we need to be gaining a bit more points to him in the coming races. But every bit helps. It's better than him outscoring us, so we take it. So here are your final race results. As you can see, we take the win from pole. Cheddar gets second place with the fastest lap. So unfortunately for us, we don't gain too many points on him, but as I said, every bit helps. And yeah, we've just got to keep this going. Next week, we have got Spain. So that is going to be quite a nice race. It's a track I enjoy and that I'm quite good at in terms of race pace. So we're going to see how that goes. But anyway, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for future league races. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.